Now we will be having another quick speech by Mr. Partha Banerjee, Director and Head Legal Compliance and Regulatory Affairs at Niva Bupa on the topic Competition Laws and Social Justice. Please, ladies and gentlemen, have a huge round of applause for Mr. Partha Banerjee.
Thank you, everyone. So, very bad time for any speech, so I will not give any speech. I'll try to make a bit presentation before the lunch. So, can I have the presentation? Yeah. So, this is about correlation between competition law and social justice. Because since morning we are hearing about merger acquisitions, tax planning, which are very big ticket items for big pockets, but at the same time, we need to understand the competition law, particularly keeping in mind the objective of competition law is largely to administer social justice. Now, why social justice? Instead of saying any word, let me play a video for you. Thank you. Hope you liked the video. So this talks about two India within India, where we have a fantastic growth story for last 30, 40 years that we have experienced. At the same time, the larger portion of India has not grown or has not partnered in that growth or has not benefited from that growth. And the competition law is one of the law which can come in aid and which is coming in aid to create equality in the society. Particularly when we look at the evolution of competition law, this law has not evolved in India, it evolved in Babylon, long back in BC. And even in Hammurabi Code, you will find that monopolistic practices are barred. The same thing actually became eminent after Industrial Revolution. And the first act that came was not in US, that is Sherman Act, it came in Canada against competition or against anti-competition. Sherman Act came in 1890, which was again succeeded by Clayton Act of 1914, and then all the European countries also started moving towards creating competition law to bust the trust, because there was exorbitant monopoly that was created across the world, which was not only stopping the growth of the countries, but even some of the corporations and trusts were larger than the government themselves. So, what is the intersection between competition law with social justice? That is the question that needs answer. So when we look at our constitution itself, or even if we look at our MRTP Act, we find that it stems from Article 38 and 39 of the Constitution of India. When we read the preamble, it says that we will ensure justice, social, political, and economic in the country. And from the video, you will understand that we are far away from it. It's a distant dream even now. So when MRTP came into picture, that point in time we talked about big is bad. But when Competition Act 2022 particularly came in picture, we said big is large, big is good, big is pretty, and we are embracing that, okay, large corporate can exist and there can be a harmony that can be created in the society. While large corporates are there, at the same time, they will have the responsibility of creating social justice. And if you see the government policies, it is moving towards that. So, some studies were done in the past. Krusnet, you may have heard about it. He came up with the first data analysis on K-shaped economy. That why inequality in the society is there, why Adam Smith failed, why Karl Marx failed. And he came up with 40 years data. And from the 40 years data, he propounded a theory that high tide lift all boats together. Then came the capital. So when the capital came, it talked about that Krusnet was wrong, because actually there are other things. The income from endowment is actually more than income from salary, which we all get, or wages, etc. So income from endowment is more so whenever the income from endowment is higher than the inflation, the rich will become richer and poor will become poorer. That's the theory which was propounded in Capital, and which was again substantially endorsed by Joseph Stiglitz, Jonathan Blake, and one of the interesting research, which was empirical research, which was done by Huntsman in US. He found that because of competition in retail sector, there was 4.8% reduction in prices. 4.8 means very little, but when it was seen that for the poorest of poor, what was the impact of it, they found that people whose family income is less than 10,000 USD, they benefited 50%. Their expenses were reduced by 50% because of this 4.8% reduction in the prices. So, we have a Competition Commission of India, which is about 15 years history, because while Competition Act came in 2002, it was actually notified in 2009. And in the 15-year history, first it was a very, very difficult job for Competition Commission, and it was all about failures, because 90% of their orders were either stayed by the Supreme Court or the High Court, and they were unable to really nail the anti-competitive actions in India. Some of their decisions were also very, very bad in the eye of law, because they failed even to provide natural justice. However, when we look at 2020 onwards, they have a very strong success ratio, And this data will talk about the penalties that they have imposed on Google, 936 crore, 1,337 crore, on Amazon, on Oyo. So these are big ticket penalties that is imposed by the Competition Act for anti-competitive activities. These are some of the judgment. I will not go through it because of the paucity of time, because we are going for the lunch after this, but I will leave this presentation for any person who is interested in that, how the movement happened. However, where we stand today, are we really, can we really say that yes, the Competition Commission is doing a great job, or we are able to create what we want to do? I will give some examples to you. We all buy pharmaceutical products, right? In pharmaceutical products, if any person is here from pharmaceutical industry, they will know that there are patented drugs and there are generic drugs. In generic drugs, there are two segments. One is branded generic, another is non-branded generic. And when you see the Drug Control Act and the orders passed under that, only 17% of the drugs are under drug control. So 83% of drugs are not under any price control measures. And what is the impact of it? That in generic branded, the same formulation with the same potency is sold at 1,000% or 2,000% price difference. So same medicine is sold at rupee 1 and rupee 2,000. So iPhone you can buy at say 5 rupees and also maybe 2,000 rupees. This is anti-competitive, and Competition Act, say Competition Commission looking into it, but again, like any other government organization, it is a bit slow in moving towards it. Again, when we look into the law itself, when we talk about dominance, you all are aware about Jio 2016. So when Jio came into picture, that point in time, they came free data, free call services. And by all means, it is a predatory pricing, right? But how it was interpreted that point in time, because the law was written in such a form that if you are a dominant player, you are exercising predatory pricing, then it is bad in eye of law, otherwise it is not. What happened? In 1 year, Jio became 33%, has 33% of market share and became the most dominant player. So sometime the law, that is how it is drafted, how it is interpreted, how it is followed, creates an issue. And here there is a fundamental difference between consumer interest and the structure. So there is a Chicago School of Competition Law which talks about if the consumer interest is protected, then everything is okay. You can do whatever you want to do. But there is a Harvard School which talks about that monopoly in itself is bad in the eye of law. And if you are monopolistic today or tomorrow, you will harm the economy completely. So I will leave that thought with all of you and open the house for few questions if there are any. Thank you. Yes, please. So first of all, we need to understand that the corporates are not standalone, or they are not only working in only one jurisdiction. Just before this, there was a question on tax evasion and other thing, and tax choosing treaty countries and all. So the same company may be available in different jurisdiction, and by staying in different jurisdiction, they can avoid certain impact of competition law. And those, if it is a smoke screen, that need to be obliterated. However, Supreme Court recently has passed an order by which it has limited the power of CCI to impose penalties on global turnover. So again, those things need to be looked into case-to-case basis. If it is a smoke screen by which it is a global turnover they have created, or they have doing it in different jurisdiction, then it should be broken. However, it is like as it was stated, like a tax planning, or it is a bona fide business, there is no connection between one business to another business, then the penalty should be on domestic income only or revenue only. That's my view, personal. Thank you, everyone.